I went to the beach. So what? People go to the beach all the time. Oh my goodness. Although it was raining, I went to the beach. Okay, now that is surprising. Not many people go to the beach when it's raining. Let's take a minute to talk about the meaning of this word, although. In this sentence, we have two facts. The first one is, I went to the beach. Nothing surprising here. And here's the second fact. It was raining. When you put them together, the second fact makes the first fact seem surprising.
What?
Although is used to show this surprising relationship between the two facts. Would you like to see a couple more examples? Good. I don't want to be a firefighter, although I could save kittens.
Come and get it.
Here I come. You gotta be kidding me. Although she was hungry, Lucy didn't eat. Now let's talk about the grammar for how to use although. Although is a subordinating conjunction, and it is followed by a clause. Remember, a clause is a group of words that has at least a subject and a verb, though it may also have an object, a complement, and some adverbials. Together, these make a subordinate clause. It's called a subordinate clause because it cannot make a sentence on its own. If someone said, although she was hungry,
What are you talking about? Although she was hungry, what?
and stopped there, the listener would be waiting for more information. The idea wouldn't feel complete. That's why the subordinate clause must be followed by another. This one is the main clause. Unlike the subordinate clause, the main clause does express a complete idea and can stand on its own. One more thing. It is also possible to switch the order of the clauses. You could say, Lucy didn't eat, although she was hungry. Alright, now I'd like to show you some more subordinating conjunctions that show a contrast of surprising fact. These words have the same meaning and the same grammar as although. So, we could say, though she was hungry, she didn't eat. Or, in spite of the fact that she was hungry, she didn't eat. Or, even though she was hungry, she didn't eat. So, now you know 4 subordinating conjunctions that you can use to show a contrast of surprising facts. We have, in spite of the fact that, though, although, and even though. Alright, it's confession time. I told you they were the same, but I lied. Sorry. There is a small difference in the degree of formality of these words. In spite of the fact that is the most formal, and even though is the least formal. Take a look at these examples. In spite of the fact that the Bolivarian Revolution doesn't maintain law and order in the streets, Maduro remains in power. Although it cost $6 million, Abdullah bought the camel. Though he would lose much, Snowden exposed how the American government invades people's privacy in the name of security. Even though Minji is already very beautiful, she wants to get plastic surgery. Alright, that's it for subordinating conjunctions. Now let's take a look at despite and in spite of. These words are also used to show a contrast of surprising fact. Whew, we've been working a lot. Let's go back to the beach. Despite it was raining, we had a lot of fun. Oh, good for you. All right. Now, if we think about this sentence from the point of view of the meaning, it's perfectly correct. We're still showing a contrast. However, from a grammatical point of view, this sentence is wrong. You can't use a clause after despite. We've seen that this sentence is wrong. Despite can't be followed by a clause. Why, you might be asking yourself? Well, that is because despite is a preposition, and after a preposition, you need to use a noun. So, we could say, despite the rain, I went to the beach. Or, in spite of the rain, I went to the beach. Despite and in spite of are both prepositions. They have the same meaning and the same grammar. The first part of this sentence, despite the rain, is called a prepositional phrase. It is also possible to put the prepositional phrase at the end of the sentence. You could say, I went to the beach despite the rain. But notice the difference. When the prepositional phrase is at the beginning of a sentence, you must put a comma after it. But notice how we don't need a comma when the prepositional phrase is at the end of the sentence. Got it? Good. Here's a few examples for you. She said no in spite of his romantic proposal. In spite of being the youngest employee, she got the promotion. In spite of his bad eyesight, Kenneth was able to read the note. I've just told you that a preposition is followed by a noun. And that's only part of the story.
I'd like to take
It can also be followed by all about a gerund clause. A gerund clause, like any other kind of clause, has a subject. There are two things that you need to know about subjects in gerund clauses. First of all, they are usually optional. And, as a matter of fact, they're not usually used. Second of all, the subject must be a possessive adjective or a possessive noun. The possessive adjectives are my, your, his, her, its, our, and their. In place of the verb, you need to use a gerund, hence the name gerund clause. If you want to make it negative, simply put a not in front of the gerund. Like a tensed clause, a gerund clause can have objects, a complement, and even some adverbials. In the examples I'm about to show you, I will only use adverbials of time. For example, we could make a gerund clause, my, not, giving, her, the letter, last week. As in, despite my not giving her the letter last week, she heard the news. Oh boy. Here's another. Her, offering, them, a hand, for a couple of hours. As in spite of her offering them a hand for a couple of hours, they decided to do it without her. And here's another example. Their, having left, early. As in, despite their having left early, they arrived late. Finally, here's an example with a possessive noun. John's not traveling anymore. As in spite of John's not traveling anymore, he has a really nice tan. Now let me show you how we would transform a subordinate clause into a gerund clause. First, take the subordinate conjunction and change it into a preposition. Then, change the subject into a possessive adjective. Then change the verb phrase into a gerund. This is a tricky one. In this sentence, we have the modal verb could. Being able to is the gerund form of could, so use being able to, with the base form of the verb, and there is no need to change the object. Voila! We have, despite my being able to save kittens. This is a prepositional phrase that has a gerund clause subordinate to the preposition. Alright, would you like to see the whole sentence? Here it is. Well, despite my being able to save kittens, I don't want to be a firefighter. Okay, here's one more example. Although becomes despite. It becomes the possessive adjective its. Cost becomes the gerund costing. And again, the object remains the same. And we get the sentence, despite its costing $6 million, Abdullah bought the king. Alright, here's a few more examples for you. In spite of the ostrich's burying its head in the sand, its problems did not disappear. He didn't catch any fish, despite having fished all day.
Hello, Amanda.
Ooh. In spite of his being a creepy little puppet, Billy is quite popular. Or maybe it's because of his creepiness. Alright, now it's time for your first exercise. What you need to do is match the subordinate clause to its corresponding main clause to make a complete sentence. The answers will be available after the timer finishes counting down. And here are the answers. 1 goes with E. Despite the fact that the sun was shining, the snow didn't melt. 2 matches up with D. Despite all his faults, she still loves him. 3 with B. Although she has many problems, she always looks happy. 4, C. Despite the heavy traffic, we arrived on time. Finally, 5, D. Although the house is small, it is well designed. Okay, on to the next exercise. In this exercise, you must complete the sentence with either a subordinate conjunction or a preposition. Pay attention to whether the blank space is followed by a noun, a gerund phrase, or a clause. Again, the answers will appear after the timer has finished counting down. And now the answers. 1. I like her, even though she can be annoying at times. 2. Although the sun was shining, it wasn't very warm. 3. In spite of her heart trouble, she went on the roller coaster. 4. She enjoyed the concert despite having a headache. And finally, number 5. We enjoyed the evening, even though the weather was bad. If you used a different subordinating conjunction or preposition from me, that's okay, it's still correct. Remember, they are interchangeable. And now, on to the final exercise. What you have to do here is change the subordinate clause into a gerund clause, and then rewrite the sentence with a prepositional phrase of contrast. For example, if I said, I thought he was wrong, although I didn't say anything at the time, you would have to change it to, I thought he was wrong, despite my not saying anything at the time. Okay, good luck. Now, here are the sentences. Again, the answers will be available after the timer has finished counting down. Good luck. Number 1. Number 1. Despite Elaine's being tired, she couldn't fall asleep. 2. In spite of losing his job, George is not at all worried. And finally, despite its being very expensive, Jerry bought the jacket. Well, that's it for this lesson. I hope you've learned a lot. If you liked it, please tell a friend. And, oh yeah, subscribe to see what's coming up next. Bye-bye. Have a great day.